Let's talk about 14 video game franchises that desperately need a comeback. Starting with number 14, Dino Crisis. Among all the revivals Capcom has been delivering lately, one series remains glaringly absent: Dino Crisis. Think of it as Resident Evil, but with dinosaurs. That concept alone should sell itself. The essentials for any Dino Crisis game are simple: Regina, the iconic protagonist, and of course dinosaurs. These elements are non-negotiable. However, let's not repeat past mistakes. Dino Crisis 3 tried to take the series into space, and we all know how that ended. That misstep arguably sealed the series' fate. It's been over 2 decades since Dino Crisis 3 launched in 2003. 20 years is a long time to wait for a proper follow-up. Capcom brought back Dragon's Dogma, which wasn't a sure hit when it launched, but found success later. So, why not Dino Crisis? And no, Exoprimal doesn't count. It's unrelated to the series. Seriously, Capcom, it's time to bring back Dino Crisis. Number 13, Burnout. The absence of Burnout in today's racing scene is glaring. Most modern racers focus on semi-realistic gameplay, like Forza or Need for Speed, but what about the chaotic, adrenaline-fueled crashes of Burnout? The series thrived on insane speeds, aggressive driving, and spectacular crashes. Games today rarely offer that same level of car deformation and destruction. Imagine a modern Burnout with soft-body physics like BeamNG.drive. It would be the perfect blend of chaos and realism. Whether it's a traditional Burnout or an open-world sequel like Burnout Paradise, the formula still holds up. Crash mode, in particular, remains one of the best game modes ever created, turning pile-ups into thrilling puzzles. It's frustrating that Criterion Games, the studio behind Burnout, is still around but stuck as a support studio for EA. Instead of crafting the next great Burnout, they're relegated to working on forgettable Battlefield modes. This franchise deserves better. Moving to number 12, Splinter Cell. Losing Michael Ironside as the iconic voice of Sam Fisher dealt a severe blow to the franchise. The series struggled after 2013's Blacklist, where Sam was transformed from a seasoned super spy to a generic military man. The voice acting downgrade made it impossible to ignore the change in tone. Rumors of a reboot or remake have been around for years, but Ubisoft hasn't delivered. Their track record with remakes, like the endlessly delayed Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, doesn't inspire much confidence. Despite this, Splinter Cell was once a cornerstone of the stealth genre, standing shoulder to shoulder with Metal Gear Solid. A proper return to form, focusing on semi-realistic settings and in-depth stealth systems, could easily restore its former prestige. Drawing inspiration from games like the Hitman trilogy, with non-linear levels and impactful objectives, would be the right move. Just don't make it another cookie-cutter open-world game. Number 11, Bioshock. Rumors about a potential Bioshock revival have been circulating for years. Every time there's a state of play or an Xbox Direct, someone speculates that the next Bioshock is about to be announced. But for now, it's all just speculation, nothing concrete. The franchise is too big to leave dormant forever. There's clearly money on the table, but the big questions are how and in what form it will return. The original development team, led by Ken Levine, left Take-Two to form a new studio. That studio is now working on a project with Take-Two, a game that feels suspiciously Bioshock-like, but isn't officially tied to the IP. It's odd considering they still have access to the Bioshock name. Regardless, it feels inevitable that we'll see another Bioshock game eventually, but whether Levine will be involved remains to be seen. Bioshock Infinite veered into meta-narrative territory and lost some of the environmental storytelling that made the original so engaging. The combat improved, and features like Skylines added a fun dynamic to battles, but the narrative didn't hit the same way. A new game would need to recapture the unique flavor of the original, combining immersive design with a strong ideological or political angle. Whether it's set in Rapture, Columbia, or an entirely new location, the series' multiverse potential leaves the door wide open for innovation. Number 10, Dishonored. Arcane Studios is in a tricky spot after the failure of Redfall. Their Texas-based studio closure adds to the challenges, but now is the perfect time to revive Dishonored. Although the story seemed to wrap up with Death of the Outsider, the series' rich world and innovative gameplay mechanics deserve another installment. The series stood out for its player freedom. Each level felt like a sandbox, offering the choice to finish missions in minutes or spend hours exploring. Levels like the Clockwork Mansion and time-shifting scenarios in Dishonored 2 showcased Arcane's brilliance. Imagine what they could achieve with modern hardware. Arcane's current project, a Blade game, doesn't inspire the same excitement as a potential return to Dishonored's immersive sim roots. A third entry could solidify the franchise's legacy, assuming they avoid making it another formulaic experience. These franchises have shaped gaming in unique ways and deserve another shot. With the right vision, they could once again captivate players and reclaim their places at the top of the industry. Number 9. Deus Ex. The Deus Ex series has always been a standout in cyberpunk gaming. Whether you prefer the conspiracy-laden original from 2000, the action-packed prequels Human Revolution and Mankind Divided, or even the divisive Invisible War, it's clear we all want more Deus Ex. The prequels introduced Adam Jensen, but their story was left unresolved. The mystery of Jensen's nature and many plot threads from Mankind Divided remain unanswered. Sadly, with Embracer Group now holding the rights, a new entry feels unlikely. With the success of Cyberpunk 2077, a new Deus Ex would inevitably face comparisons. But it doesn't need to be a massive open-world RPG. The series excels at crafting dense, immersive worlds with deep storytelling. Publishers, however, seem to underestimate the demand for games like this. Here's hoping Deus Ex makes a comeback someday. Number 8. Mega Man X. Capcom brought back the original Mega Man with Mega Man 11, which turned out to be a hit, but then they stopped there. While it's nice that collections like Mega Man X, Zero, and Battle Network are now readily available, these are just old games. Fans are craving something fresh, especially a new X game. It feels like the obvious next step after 11, yet it hasn't materialized. For many, Mega Man X is the definitive series. I grew up playing the NES classics, but X took the formula to another level. Unfortunately, Capcom oversaturated the market, and the last few entries were disappointing. The core formula doesn't need overhauling, just new levels, powers, and challenges. A 3D Mega Man X? No thanks. It didn't work before, and it wouldn't now. Legends fans also got the short end of the stick with the canceled sequel, leaving the series to be nothing more than a nostalgia trip. And Battle Network? Those games were wildly popular. With a unique battle system that could rival modern RPGs, imagine a fresh Battle Network with the visual polish of Persona. Capcom has the resources, they just need to make it happen. Number 7. TimeSplitters. The true spiritual successor to GoldenEye 007 isn't Perfect Dark, it's TimeSplitters. While Perfect Dark Zero flopped, TimeSplitters delivered 2 incredible follow-ups. If we can only pick one franchise to revive, it has to be TimeSplitters. These games hit the perfect balance of chaotic multiplayer and quirky, fun single-player campaigns. They had a unique identity, with varied weapons, GoldenEye-style aiming, and cartoonish art. TimeSplitters 4 was even in the works at one point, but never saw the light of day. Embracer Group owns the rights now, and while they've been sitting on the IP, there's still hope. A modern TimeSplitters could reclaim its niche. No other game does what it did so well. Number 6. Banjo-Kazooie. Fans went wild when the duo was added to Smash Bros., yet the franchise remains dormant. Rare isn't the same company that gave us N64 classics, but their legacy still resonates. The original Banjo-Kazooie games mastered the collectathon formula with giant, colorful levels, addictive minigames, and Grant Kirkhope's iconic music. Nuts and Bolts was creative and ahead of its time, but it wasn't the game fans wanted. If it had been a spin-off alongside a proper sequel, people might have embraced it more. If Rare isn't going to deliver, why not hand the reins to Playtonic Games? Many of their developers worked on the original series. Yooka-Laylee wasn't perfect, but its sequel showed promise. A true Banjo-Kazooie revival doesn't need to reinvent the wheel. It just needs to feel like Banjo. Number 5. Spyro the Dragon. Spyro is rumored to make a comeback. The original trilogy by Insomniac was incredible, and since then, we've seen the series fumble through rough reboots, like the poorly received Enter the Dragonfly, and even featured Elijah Wood and Gary Oldman as voice actors in later entries. Despite the missteps, Spyro remains a beloved classic. Toys for Bob did an excellent job with the remasters, and went on to create Crash Bandicoot 4, which was solid despite some tricky difficulty spikes. If anyone can handle a proper Spyro sequel, it's them. The original games were simple yet endlessly fun, with unique movement mechanics that made charging around as Spyro a blast. A modern sequel feels like an obvious win, and it's long overdue. Number 4. Sleeping Dogs. Let's be real, everyone's asking for a new Sleeping Dogs. That game was a standout, offering a fresh alternative to Grand Theft Auto. It wasn't an easy feat, but it carved out its own identity. More arcade-like, action-packed, but without the over-the-top antics of Saints Row. It balanced serious storytelling with just the right amount of silliness, something GTA hasn't quite nailed. In a perfect world, The developers would have expanded this franchise into something truly legendary. Instead, we got two mediocre true crime games, one solid entry, and then a name change to Sleeping Dogs after Square Enix picked it up. Add in a failed MMO follow-up that no one asked for, and it's a miracle the original Sleeping Dogs turned out as good as it did. A sequel seemed like a no-brainer. Take what worked, polish it, and give fans more. But if you dig into United Front Games' history, it's clear they had a wildly inconsistent track record. One moment making Mod Nation Racers and Little Big Planet karting, and the next delivering a polished, big-budget open-world action game. Plans for Sleeping Dogs 2 existed, but they never materialized. It'd be amazing if another talented studio could pick up the torch, or if the original team could revive it, but the chances seem slim to none. Still, it's a franchise that deserves a second chance. Number 3. Chrono Trigger. While Chrono Cross technically makes this a franchise, let's be real. Fans are craving a true sequel to Chrono Trigger. This iconic RPG is all killer, no filler. It's a tightly paced, fast-moving game with fantastic time travel mechanics, a memorable cast, and one of the best soundtracks in gaming history. Unlike the bloated 100-hour RPGs we often see today, Chrono Trigger is lean, impactful, and endlessly replayable. A modern follow-up could introduce new time periods, party members, and mechanics while retaining the spirit of the original. It's a no-brainer, yet Square Enix hasn't made it happen. Fans can only hope for the day when this legendary franchise finally gets the continuation it deserves. Number 2. Castlevania. With all the remakes, remasters, and DLCs Konami has been churning out, it's easy to forget we haven't had a proper Castlevania game since 2014. Sure, there was the Haunted Castle remake in the Dominus Collection, but that's still a reimagining of an older title, not something new. The possibilities for a new entry are endless. Konami could return to the classic style, explore the Metroidvania format, or even revisit the Lords of Shadow timeline, though they'd have to improve on the disappointing Lords of Shadow 2. Fans are desperate for anything that isn't another pachinko machine, and a proper Castlevania revival could be incredible. Finally, on number 1, Ninja Gaiden. This series has been out of the spotlight for quite some time. While the NES games are absolute classics, and Ninja Gaiden Black on the original Xbox remains one of the best action games ever made, the franchise took a nosedive with Ninja Gaiden 3. That massive misstep forced Team Ninja to shift their focus to other projects. These days, Team Ninja is doing solid work, but it's hard not to wonder what a revitalized Ninja Gaiden from them might look like. It doesn't need to replicate Ninja Gaiden Black exactly, though that wouldn't hurt. They could even go in a new direction, perhaps a Souls-like approach, but with a focus on strong movement mechanics. Dynamic gameplay and high difficulty were always key to the series' identity. Another option could be to return to the grounded tone of the NES games, where settings felt somewhat tied to reality, complete with CIA agents lurking in the shadows. Whatever they choose to do, fans just want something new from this iconic series. Well, that's all for today. Tell us if you agree that these classics must return no matter what. Let us know in the comments. If you liked the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and click on the video that I leave here on the screen that you will surely love. If you are not subscribed yet, this is the perfect time. We upload new videos daily, so subscribe and turn on notifications to stay updated. As always, thank you very much for watching this video, and see you next time. And remember, we are Gamespedia EX, your AI favorite video game source. I'll be back.